Okay, so council attendance. We have 1, 2, 3. Do we have anyone joining via Zoom? We have Chief Lacey and Chief Vanessa joining via Zoom. For the record? Yes? Chief Vanessa is on and Chief Lacey is not yet? Okay. What? Okay, we're gonna do a moment of silence for everyone that we had lost and everyone that's about to leave us. So let's take this time, we're gonna take 30 seconds and we're gonna just do a really respectful moment of silence starting now. Okay, okay, welcome everyone. It's really nice to see everyone. Before we get into this agenda, I just wanted to let you know that we took a lot of time and consideration into redeveloping these general meetings. So now they're going to be more inclusive. You're going to have the district chief speaking more. We're going to have more administration more to answer our questions. So it's going to be more inclusive going forward. And we do have to ask that everyone remain with a good mind. Referring back to our last meetings, I have to say that, we can do better and we're going to do better. As a community as a whole, we have to make sure that we conduct ourselves in a respectful manner. We have to have integrity at these tables and in these meetings. So with that being said, council is not going to tolerate any kind of disrespect or violence of any kind. And that's just not permitted. I mean, we can do better than that. So going forward, I hope that you guys come here with that good mind, because we have a lot of updates to give. We have been working hard. There's a lot of stuff that's coming down the pipeline. A lot of changes have been occurring, and we're excited to talk about that. So as we go through these items here, you're gonna see the different district chiefs are gonna be speaking to that and let you know what they've been doing. And to that, we're gonna be going through, we will take a quick little break in between. That's also something we're gonna do, but then we'll still make sure that we're gonna try and get through everything at the same time before 8 o'clock. Okay, so with that, we have council agenda acceptance. So we have our rules of order, action item, Tsiothohrkó, January 30th, 2025. We have our update law enactment process from our Director of Justice. We have an update from Jordan's Principal, Chief Keisha Work. We have an update from Border Issues, Chief Vince Thompson. We have an update from Beaver Chronic Waste Disease, Chief Vince Thompson. Updated DIHE Road Maintenance and Capital Plan, Chief Vince Thompson. Updated Beaver Reductions, Chief Scott Pitters. Updated Carney Island, Chief Scott Pitters. Then we're going to go to Acting Executive Director updates, so any updates from the admin's side. Then we're going to go into a Chief Electoral Officer CEO update. Then we're going to go business to the floor. We'll finish off with a resolution, the general meeting minutes dated Tsiothohrkó, January 30th, 2025, and then announcement, Enníska, March district and general meetings. Then we're going to adjourn our closing address, the motion to adjourn. Do we have a mover? Chief Scott, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Chief Teresa, without a H, all in favor? Carried. Can you tell me if Chief Vanessa voted in favor? Okay, yeah. Carried. Chief Lacey is joining us via Zoom as well? Okay. And she voted in favor for the record. Now, okay, rules of order. We are going to be updating these rules of order as well. So we'll probably have something ready for the next general meeting, but we're gonna be using what we currently have. There are some discrepancies with this which needs to be updated, but we'll let you guys know that for the next meeting. Looking at general meetings that to occur the last Thursday of each month and recur in each district on a rotating basis in Gawanoge, Gmaudigo, and Tsi Snaíhne. The exception to this is with the general meeting cancellation protocol MCR 2015-2016, number 260. In the fortunate circumstance where a community member passes in one of the 3 districts, the meeting will occur as regularly scheduled in the other 2 districts where the member did not reside. A moment of silence will also be taken in their memory. The general meetings are an opportunity for community members to hear information from council and assist council with issues that affect the community. The following general meeting rules were originally developed as community general meeting in July 2006. The principles for general meeting rules is based on respect for each other, and all attendees are expected to behave respectfully and professionally at all times. All times. General meeting rules. 1. Meetings will start at 6 p.m. and proceed to a maximum of 8 p.m., at which point the community will be asked if they choose to continue past 8 p.m. 2. Personal issues will not be dealt with in a public forum/general meetings. Personal items can be dealt with on an individual basis with council members or by appointment to the Mohawk government office. 3. If you have questions or comments during the meeting, raise your hand and wait to be acknowleded by the chairperson. The chairperson will know of the order that the community members indicate to be acknowledged. 4. Please keep the questions and comments relevant to the point of order with the agenda and be considerate of this time used. And that is something that's going to be, I'm really going to be onto that. So when we're discussing an item, only discuss that item. If things are going off, I'm going to circle back and say, okay, point of order, come back to the item that we're discussing. Let's keep number 5. A list will be made of issues you wish to address to council, and if the answer cannot be provided at the current meeting, the issue be taken back to council table for further discussion and follow-up. So that's our general meeting rules of order. Okay, action items. So we're looking at the action items that occurred from the January 30th, 2025 meeting, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. And the first action item, can the community have input when ATIP is updated? S. Brown Point, Acting Executive Director, and the answer is ATIP updates are being made regularly, and as new changes create a need, such as the upcoming change of council's weekly meeting to the public. Therefore, there's no plan to present a new or revised document. However, you're welcome to share your questions or suggestions with the Executive Service Office. Number 2, when will the Gawanoge rec generator be installed? That one to Chief T. Jacob. Answer, as of February 3rd, the generator has been delivered, running electrical this week, February 3rd to the 7th. One day next week, between February 10th to the 14th, the power will have to be shut off to the daycare rec center in our district so the generator can tie into the system. Acting DOH/DCSS Maintenance Manager Nolan Francis will be contact with Ambi Daycare Supervisor and Gawanoge Rec. Contact regarding coordinating the day of a shut off. Okay, moving to the next item. Where is the Gawanoge Child Care Center on the priority list? Chief T. Jacobs. The Gawanoge Recreation Fund be relocated with the new arena addition. We're at the very beginning of the stage of this project. We're seeking funds for Architecture 409 to continue with the feasibility study. DIHE and ELECTORAL are working together to find funds for this stage of the work. 150K, so 150,000. From the feasibility stage, we're to move to conceptual and in detailed design development to tender ready. Each phase must be planned out and funds allocated. We did previous meet with the Gawanoge Recreation several months back, but I'll provide an update to them. B, regarding daycare, unaware of the request for the removal of the daycare building. Before anything can happen, we need to secure another location for the occupants of the building. We need to get a building assessment done to review its overall condition and cost to condemn it. This would most likely be determined by a decision from council and the community. Number 4, it was reported there was a $79 million in the report last year. What is the plan for that money? Chief T. Jacobs, unaware of these funds and what they are for. What they're for or coming from. Okay, so that part's still unclear. Number 5, update the Parks and Recreation Department DIHE portfolio. This is yet to be decided on and where this program/department be housed under. Number 6, request to have MCA org chart, MCA as a whole in each department as Rompoy acting executive director completed, printed copies available. There's a lot of different copies on the table there when you walk in. If there's some that wasn't included, can you let us know, because there are many org charts in there. They did start with the major priority ones that people were asking for, but if you need more, you can just let us know. Number 7, how many children have entered and exited care through ACFS, voluntary and involuntary? Chief L. Peters. Answer, 2021 to 22, Quebec was 9, Ontario 18. For 22 to 23, Quebec was 7, Ontario was 0. For 23 to 24, Quebec was 6, Ontario was 18. From 24 to 25, Quebec 0, Ontario 0. That's as of February 14, 2025. So that gets through those ones, and then we had some new questions come up for today. First question, I have a quick question. How much does it cost to hold a by-election? Answer, estimate of $12,000 to $15,000 for each election. So that's approximately. Number 2, I'm looking for some clarity on a statement made by a chief stating that in signing the New York State land claim, we have forfeited the right to any future land claims in New York State. Is this true? Answer, no, there's no quit claim or forfeit to any other land claims involving Ganyukehaga land claims in New York State regarding the current New York State land claim settlement. The 1796 treaty with the 7 Nations of Canada is the only claim involved. Number 3, update on the progress for medical supplies to be shipped to Tsi Snaíhne, Akwesasne, Quebec. It's been 35 years. I think this is political. Answer, this is an FYI, but there's something we'll be working with when the Quebec minister is coming to visit our community. We urgently need Quebec's cooperation to address the home care needs for our community. Specifically, Quebec must agree to provide home care supplies and services to our community, and Quebec's approval is required for cross-border delivery of supplies. We need to advocate for Quebec to acknowledge this obligation to fund and service our community. Current challenges include awaiting Quebec government approval for shipments to Tsi Snaíhne, political supports needed for official recognition of Ganadagun Tsi Snaíhne, and suppliers refusing to cross the border. Your assistance is needed in improving communication with suppliers and resolve border crossing issues. As an interim measure, supplies are being redirected to Junganos, the lawn care facility for distribution. So you can pick them up there. Number 4, update on health department survey. Answer, top 3 health community concerns: cancer, diabetes, mental health. They'll be announcing it at the health fair in the upcoming month. So that's all the current questions that we have. Again, if you have any more, you can email them in. And I'd just like to say that if you have questions, try and send them in sooner, like not the day of the general meeting, but ahead of time. And then the more that you do that, the more likely you get like a well-informed answer. So just giving you guys a heads up on that. Okay, so our next one, going to number 5, update. Law enactment process by our Director of Justice. Do we have our Director? Okay. All right, Yawan for coming. Again, this is showing how we're doing things different here, and we're making sure that everyone comes out and we're all a part of this. So again, if you have any questions or anything, please show respect to everyone here today who's talking, and let's try and keep our times to, make the most of our use of our times. Okay, so when we're ready, the floor is yours.
Testing, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
If you don't know me, my name is Akwesasne. I'm the director of the Akwesasne Justice Department. I'm relatively new, I've been there for a little over a year. Since 2005, I worked with the Aboriginal Rights and Research Office, which is now the Akwesasne Rights and Research Office. So I've been here a while. I've been asked by my portfolio to come and go over the Akwesasne legislative enactment procedural regulation. So we have a PowerPoint here. And what I'm going to do is I have a checklist of things that the committee, the oversight committee, goes through. They follow the legislative act, we call it the ELECTORAL. It's easier to say, it's less of a mouthful. And making sure that every process, every clause is followed to a T. So that's what I'm going to do for you now. So this is just the purpose of the regulation. It was enacted originally in 2021, and it was updated March 27th of 2023. Going through this, you have it in your packets too. You have the actual regulation itself, and you have flow chart. We did the best we could to summarize this very complicated regulation. But there is something coming out in August soon also that summarizes the ELECTORAL itself, the regulation. And if you have questions, you can call me, you can call the Justice Department, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. But hopefully this answers, just gives you a good overview of the process itself. There are a lot of variables inherent in this regulation. You'll see when you go through it. Timing-wise, there are some deadlines that are set in there, but the majority of the regulation establishes procedures without deadlines, like meetings, like a vote happens and 7 days, we have 7 days to confirm the results. Other times, meetings are set, meetings get canceled, meetings get, set 2 or 3 weeks down the road. So just keep that in mind when you're going through. It shows you how difficult it was to try to summarize it. So, okay, next. So there are 5 phases of development, and I'll go through them with you. Sorry, the papers are shuffling. Phase 1, development of the proposed law. Phase 2, acceptance in principle of an Akwesasne law. Community consultation is phase 3. Yeah, keep going out. Do I have to hold this down? No? Okay. Oh, you gave me the broken one. Phase 3 is the community consultation. 4 is the enactment of an Akwesasne law. And then phase 5 would be the ratification and rejection procedures after the enactment phase. So phase 1 would be the development of a proposed Akwesasne law. So it would be initiating the development of Akwesasne law through an MCR or surveys that have been used in the past. There would be public notice. There would be the law development itself. The appointment of a working task group. Obviously, there would be legal review after the initial drafting, legal report. The task group would incorporate the legal recommendations. Then there would be a council review. The incorporation of council recommendations. Preparation for submission for phase 2, which would be the acceptance in principle, and then a resubmission to council for their review. So phase 2, it would go to council would review it, there would be a full presentation on it, and council would either choose to accept or reject the proposal on principle. And the draft would be labeled draft for phase 3, and then that would be brought out for public notice as well. Moving into phase 3, the community consultation. There would be a schedule of informational meetings that would be publicized. And then obviously notice to members of when these are going to happen, and we're not limited to just having one in each district. The committee right now is planning 3 in each district for a certain law that they're working on now, the child rights law. Where are we? Where were we? I lost my train of thought. There would be consultation, obviously, post-consultation, which would be the working task group reviewing, the comments that were received. There's also a post-consultation legal review, the incorporation of those legal recommendations, post-consultation council review, obviously, incorporating those changes for revision by council, and then preparation for submission to phase 4. Phase 4 is the enactment of an Akwesasne law. So we would read, the working group would report changes read to council. Council would determine at that point whether to accept in principle or reject it, or they can also send it back to the committee if they want edits or whatever. And then council would determine the enactment method, whether it be referendum or special general meeting. And the preparation and the final draft for phase 4. And from that point on, there would be no further changes to the law. Obviously, after that, enactment by the special general meeting or the referendum would be held. And finally, phase 5, council would confirm the results of the referendum or special general meeting within 7 days of the vote. There would be a coming into force date established. Public notice would have to happen within 7 days of the ratification. The law would be published, and the law would be entered into the law registry. And can be found on the Akwesasne.ca website. And also, if it's rejected, no work on it can be done on that particular law or anything that would be similar in subject matter for 120 days. And, yeah. If there's any questions?
So during the entire law enactment process, there's several times that council kind of moves the file forward. Is there any point in which a single member of council can edit the entire process change?
That shouldn't be a possibility, no. It would be council would have to decide on all the edits and come to an agreement on.
And the last question on that would be, after community consultation, when it's taken into consideration, is there substantial edits to the process that can be done by council or a member of council before it comes back to community? That post-consultation law development process.
In my brief time with Justice, I don't agree that there should be any huge edits or revisions because we did all the community consultation. We did bring it to full council and they had the chance to see the revisions, the edits, the amendments. They had their chance, 3 cracks at it. So it was in phase 4, section 7.5, there should be no further changes to the law.
Thank you.
No, any other questions?
So for the emergency management law that was done, I guess, like prior to the last election, it was coupled with another bylaw, and both of them were rejected. It's been past 120 days,
Yes, it has.
and it hasn't come back on the actual agenda to actually work on that bylaw. We're just waiting on that. When is that going to happen?
We will, the Oversight Committee on Legislation has been meeting. We just got a full committee in December of last year. So they have been meeting regularly and they're coming up with different ways to attack the laws that we have previously had votes on or the development of new laws. So you will be hearing about it.
Okay, so it's coming back on the agenda as one of the bylaws that should actually complete?
I
or
can't promise it. It's up to the committee.
it doesn't make sense to leave a bylaw when it's gone to a vote, to leave it there stagnant when you're almost complete with it. And then for the legislative committee to not pick it up again because they're almost finished and decide they're not going to, does not make sense. Is that part of your legislative process?
It's up to the committee, like I said, but council can direct the committee to review it, and they can ask that, this is coming from the community, and
I'm just asking because it has been a long time since it's been rejected in law, and I think the reason why it was rejected because it was with another bylaw, which was the community didn't approve either, and so they both went down together. But at the same exact time, it's a bylaw that's absolutely necessary because it came up and it was created and established during COVID. And COVID brought a lot of elements in emergency management to life and to light, and a lot of those things were actually kind of brushed underneath the rug. And the emergency management bylaw is really important. And so if we ever declare a state of emergency or something like that, it gives council a lot of authority to do things, and those things were actually questioned during COVID. And so at the same exact time, it's important that that bylaw not be set aside just because it wasn't approved and invoked, and the legislative committee to decide whether or not they're gonna put it back on the table or not. It doesn't make sense to take something that you're close to, getting approved by the community to just sit stagnant and not have anything done for it. But the same exact time is, my program has asked for dollars to pay for the honorariums for the legislative committee so that Mohawk Court could have monies to work through the processes they need to pay the legislative committee members their honorariums so that we can get this done. So if it doesn't come back on the table, we lose all your money. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm just saying it's really important to kind of get that back on the table and to make sure that it is done, because in the event we do have a major emergency again, we really need that bylaw to support the decision of council.
I agree that it is very important law, and I would like to see it voted on again. But you're in the right venue to let your council know.
I was just wondering if the child welfare law is still in the works.
Oh, yes, definitely.
What stage is it?
Yeah. Legal review, the initial legal review stage. And there's updates on it in Onondaga and the community announcements regularly too.
Who is on the committee for that?
Oh, boy. Chief Cindy Francis Mitchell, Chief Lisa, and Chief Lacey.
Second one. Regina, just a clarification, the oversight committee doesn't decide what laws get reviewed, the community does. And a survey will be going out soon to the community to decide what those will be. We're expecting that that's the steps that's going to be taken. I sit on the oversight committee, so that's what I know as of right now. And the law itself actually is done right now because it went to a vote. So if it's to come back, then yes, it's necessary, but that's the process right now. Just the one, and it's done, so it'll start to come back up as a law to be reviewed. It'll have to wait 120 days. But the mandate of the oversight committee is to find out the priorities from the community for law development.
From what I understand in regards to the process of the legislative process, and when you're doing bylaws, it goes through 3 times before it's actually set aside. So I don't know why it only went through one election or whatever it is, but it should have gone through 3 processes, is what I understand. Like, I've read that, so. And I know it's always been that way, so to drop it after it's gone through just the one vote, I don't think that's correct in regards to the legislative process.
It hasn't been dropped. Like Connie said, it's still there. It's finished. But but it just has not been brought back to the community. And for the 3 times, I've never heard of that. I'd have to look that up. Do you mean votes? Okay. Oh, yeah, do you mean the community consultation meetings?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I went through the whole
Yeah,
process.
I remember that, but I also thought that, you know, at the same exact time, like, after it goes through the consultation and everything like that, that those edits are done, and then it goes back into, the election, you know, voting again.
I'm just reading this thing and it is very confusing. But Connie just said that initiation of a new law comes through the oversight committee who consults with the community, but that's not what this law says. It says that the process for starting is a resolution setting out specific subject matter, a petition setting out the request with eligible voters signing it, or an order by the clerk. So I guess I'm confused what the oversight committee does.
When the survey is completed, it's put on the resolution and also to accept the results.
I know that it's not absolutely necessary to have a survey though. It's not, that's the way it's been done, but it's not necessary. It can come from council. It can come from a meeting such as this if there was a vote.
These are shall. And it has to happen. One of these processes has to happen.
According to the Akwesasne legislative enactment process, it says initiating the development, amendment, or the repeal process. One of these things shall be initiated. So what you're saying is it doesn't have to be, it has to be.
Survey. It doesn't have to come from a survey though, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, you said the survey doesn't have to be. So it has to be a resolution, it has to be a petition, or it has to be a court order. It has to be one of those 3
Yeah.
things.
So. Any more questions?
Yeah, I'm looking at phase 4 enactment, and I'm just wondering, it says MCA voting method, referendum, or vote at a special general meeting. I guess why they decide that, how do they do that?
I couldn't really hear you.
Phase 4. It
Yes.
says MCA sets voting method, referendum, or vote at a special general meeting. Like, how did they decide that, and do they tell us why?
I don't know. That would be a question for council, I suppose.
What? Okay, I'll open up to any of the portfolio chiefs. Respond. Okay, Chief Lisa.
So I'm part of the justice portfolio, along with Chief Cindy, Chief Scott, and Chief Fallon David. I know we've been meeting pretty regular as far as the legislative commission or legislative committee, and there is a terms of reference that's for the legislative committee as well, the oversight committee. And so we're kind of following that, so we are discussing this. I think at our table we're discussing, somewhere it's written in there, I believe it's in the terms of reference where it talks about a survey, so that's where that's coming up. But for sure, we'll take the comments that were made today, and we'll discuss it at our table as well.
Is the legislative committee the same thing as the oversight committee, or is it 2 different bodies?
It's the same thing. Yeah. So on there's the portfolio chiefs, and then there's there's community members, and Connie Luzor is one of them.
Okay, we have one more question in the back.
How would one be able to pass a law when one doesn't have a court to pass a law in? And when you do pass a law, where would it be legal to be passed? At what court? Our own court or on the white man's court?
The Akwesasne laws are heard in Akwesasne Mohawk Court. If you're thinking of law creation, did I hear you right there? That's what this process is. We're not writing laws for outside communities. These are ours.
Okay, now, I do appreciate yeah, we have one more question?
I just wanted to let you guys know that whoever has a dark gray Cadillac with Quebec plates E31LYG, you're gonna have to move your vehicle.
Okay, so sounds like we're good with this now. Director of Justice Cactus, thank you, really appreciate it. And I do appreciate Connie for stepping up and sharing information. You know, this is the thing, when we're a part of these different committees, boards, tribunals, and et cetera, you know, and we come to these sessions, feel free to help, you know, offer some kind of information when we're talking about the process. Again, you know, we can't go into sensitive information, but again, anything like that that's gonna help us all understand how we work together, that's appreciated, and we're open to that. So again, now to that. Moving on to our next agenda item, we have Jordan's principal. That's gonna be from Chief Tisha Work. Okay, Tisha?
Testing. Good. Okay. My apologies. I'm gonna read my document from my iPad just to give an update of the Jordan's principle. It is in your packet. I'm gonna give a overview of the changes that have come to the communities. So what's changing? So Indigenous Service Canada is making updates to the processing of requests under Jordan's principle. The changes include faster decision-making by allowing regional offices to approve requests directly, more consistent rules for what is covered, clearer documentation requirements to ensure requests are properly supported. No limits on certain funding requests to focus resources on essential services. So key requirements for individual requests. So for requests to be approved, it must show how the service, product, or support meets the child's distinct needs, how social or educational. Proof that the child has experienced a barrier such as a delay or gap in accessing a government service, a denial of a government service because they are First Nations, supporting documentation from a professional such as a healthcare provider, educator, elder, or knowledge keeper, a detailed cost breakdown of what is being requested. So what is no longer covered? So ISC has placed limits on certain requests to ensure resources are used appropriately. The following items will not be approved unless they are directly tied to substantive equality under Jordan's principle. So housing and infrastructure, so building or renovating homes is not covered under Jordan's principle. Sports and travel, competitive sports, fees, or training unless they are directly linked to a child's health, social, or educational needs. International travel unless required for an exceptional medical need. Non-medical support, so such as clothing, furniture, childcare, travel, or vehicles, only covered if a medical professional provides a letter stating that they are essential to the child's well-being. School-related costs, so requests must be linked to the child's specific educational needs. School boards and other existing provincial, federal educational programs must be used before Jordan's principal is considered. Administrative fees for group requests, repeating past requests. So just because a request was approved previously does not mean it will be approved again. So each new request will be reviewed by a case-by-case basis. So Jordan's principal also funds group services such as therapy programs for multiple children. The following changes will apply. So what is required for a group request? A list of all children who will benefit, including names, birthdays, and proof of eligibility. Needs assessment showing how the request will benefit multiple children. Supporting documentation. So letters from health professionals, educators, or elders. A detailed budget breakdown of costs, financial reporting from past funding if previously funded. What is no longer funded for group rates, requests, multi-year funding. Requests must be made yearly now. Automatic administrative fees, example, general service fees, overhead costs. Carrying over unused funds. So unspent money must be reported and reviewed. Why are these changes happening? So ISC is making these changes to ensure Jordan's principal may remain sustainable for future generations, make decisions making faster and more efficient, ensuring funding is focused on children facing real gaps in services, align with the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal orders that the Jordan's principal should fill service gaps while still respecting provincial and federal responsibilities. So what families and communities need to do, so for parents and guardians, ensure requests clearly explain the child's needs and how to request requested service will help, include letters from professionals supporting the request, provide a cost breakdown for any funding requests. So for communities and organizations, so when applying for group funding, ensure all necessary document is included. Understand that the multi-year request will no longer be approved. Keep detailed financial records to comply with the new reporting requirements. So if what you do, if the request is denied, if your request is denied, you can appeal the decision by the following ISC appeal process. So you can contact your Jordan's principal office for support. And then in the document in the package, they also have a link to contact your Jordan's principal focal point and then to appeal a decision. And then if you have any questions, we do have a Jordan's principal in Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, and Kevin Buckshot is the program manager. You can contact him at 613-575-2341, extension 2652. And yeah, I appreciate it. So if you have any questions.
Any questions from the floor? We're gonna try and keep this to a 5-minute time frame, so just keep them quick.
So this is the Jordan Principal's revised policy?
That's the new Jordan's Principal Operation Bulletin that was sent to all the First Nations communities.
Okay, so for Akwesasne, has that actually been compared to the community support programs, social assistance, like the welfare policy? Because if you have a child and you're on social assistance and they have disabilities or something, some of those things that are on that list are actually, you can qualify for them under the social assistance welfare program. So, in the event that somebody comes to Jordan's Principal and they want to get something on the Jordan's Principal, do they have to declare their income and what their income is? And if they're on social assistance, does it go to social assistance asking them that whether or not this is covered underneath their benefits or not? Because there are a lot of services underneath there that are covered underneath their benefits.
Mm-hmm. I cannot answer that question right now, but I'll take that back. And I know that Kevin and Dan are working together, and in these questions that are coming from community members, because these services have changed, and we're trying to make sure that all the gaps are filled so that our children have their needs met.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. When a child's needs are met for the Jordan's principal, how long does the process take for them to receive their funding?
I know they have like, it depends on how urgent that need is. So, it really depends on that wait. So, depending on what that urgency is, then the navigator would help, answer that question also.
Hi, Tisha.
Hello.
My question kind of goes on to Melissa's. I know that a lot of parents do register under Jordan's principal for funding, but it takes a very long time to get it.
Yes.
Politically, I'm wondering what council can do to help speed that up. Because right now it's administrators pushing the papers, the applications, and Indian Affairs making the decisions. So I'm just wondering what council can do to look into speeding that up, who's ever holding that portfolio for DCSS, because it's a very long wait time.
Yes.
And when you talk about meeting the needs of children, those needs need to be met today and not 6, 8, 10 months from now. And when Indigenous Affairs talks about holding money back that's overflow, how do they determine when it's overflow, when it takes so long to be approved? So I would like to ask that council look into that politically to see how that can be speeded up and that parents get the funding this year. You know.
Now, Connie. Now, everybody.
Yeah, Chief Tisha, really appreciate it. She's been doing a lot of work on this, and yeah, there's a lot of changes coming down with that too, and that is something we're looking at is our involvement, and I'm supporting any initiative trying to even bring that money locally, and that's the kind of stuff we're gonna be able to update you on coming up soon. And I think what we do is we can reach out to the program managers from both departments. I'm sure they'd be more than willing to come here and share that stuff, because I know they have been going to the district meetings. So again, I think maybe that's a message we put out here. Okay, for that, let's move on to our next item. We have update for border issues, Chief Vince Thompson. There's been a lot of stuff going on with this file here, and council's been really active on that. Just so you know, things are ever changing, but Chief Vince will be here to give the updates on what we have so far.
Okay, Seco Zoguego, on behalf of MCA and everybody that was involved in these border matters, we've had some good dialogue with the upcoming changes to the port of entry. And I just want to share with all of you some of the things that we're working on and some of the topics that was discussed on with our border partners meeting, which consists of Mohawk Council, St. Regis Mohawk Tribe, CBSA, and the U.S. Customs Border Agency. There was a monthly meeting held to address community concerns regarding the federal government of the United States and Canada. This initiative's taking collaboration is essential to advocate for the best interests of the Akwesasne community. Key topic of discussions included the terrorists and their impact on border mobility, identification requirements, effects on economic development, potential repercussions for residents, businesses, organizations, and nonprofit, the proposal for a 30-day pause on certain initiatives. Emphasis was placed on the importance of effective communication and timely reporting on all changes from CBSA and the U.S. Customs Border Patrol Agency to both St. Regis Mohawk Tribe and MCA. Discussions focused on terrorists being considered by the U.S. administration that could impact Akwesasne's resident livelihood. It was reported that there is a $1.3 billion security plan, including CBSA, RCMP, and Health Canada, which was presented to us. One of the initiatives is combating fentanyl at the borders, and the potential increases of surveillances by way of black helicopters and the use of drones. When that was being said and presented to us, we said that our AMPS department and our law enforcement should be involved in this as a partner to it, to ensure that Akwesasne doesn't feel like they're in and living under martial law. That's something that I put forward, and I think their eyes and ears are opened up to that, or else we're just gonna be creating a huge conflict for ourselves, and they will be creating that moving forward. So with that being said, AMPS shared a media release on this initiative, which the AMPS will assist in patrolling the border as part of the border security efforts. MCA emphasized the need for Akwesasne's involvement in the border security initiatives as decisions affecting our territory must include consultation to our leaderships. Fleet clearance discussions. Fleet clearance discussions is a file that I'm working on that's trying to get the Canadian Customs to the U.S. portion of the territory adjacent to the U.S. Customs that will alleviate all the issues that we're having right now where we're situated today. So fleet clearance discussions must continue to ensure exemptions, increase in flexibility in border relations and emergency transport. Participation in these information sessions regarding the issues of avalanche being inspected when crossing back into the U.S. U.S. Customs POE, the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe, and the St. Regis Mohawk Police Chief were present. MCA opposed this practice and is advocating for a resolution. They're trying to take a quick look at our ambulances, stop them when they were turning north back to Cornwall, and try and see who exactly we're transporting, and that raised big concerns for us. So hopefully, talking on this issue, that they will be, we're opposing it and proposing this practice, and is advocating for a resolution. Proposing solutions include advance notice from the ambulance to the POE, delay reporting after emergency is over, or negotiating a memorandum of understanding, MOU, between all parties involved. So that's where we're headed on this, because we don't want any delays. There's a lot of liability there. If they stop us, delay the person, it only takes 30 seconds for somebody to pass away. If they're held up there for that long, we gotta freaking get in there and really hammer on them. So that's something that we're doing too. And we're also following up on border partners meetings. Further discussions will be held at the U.S. Customs supervisors and the CBSA delegates regarding tariffs. It was confirmed that at this time, no tariffs will be collected on U.S. goods brought into Canada by Akwesasne. The remission order remains unchanged, and commercial deliveries will continue as usual. MCA will be given notice of any further changes affecting our local ports of entry. MCA will also continue to meet and monitor any changes and work in mitigating and limit effects on Akwesasne. We will continue to exercise our inherent right and jurisdiction. As community members, please contact your district chiefs if you're experiencing negative treatment or dealt with contrary to this report. So that's something that we've been working on. As you all paying attention to the media, now they're targeting March 4th as being the timelines of their tariff enforcement. So we got another meeting coming up very shortly, and we're going to be addressing that matter at that time. And there was other small detailed discussions. They said in there, just most recently they had a big thing put up, because the poultry in the U.S. is being, they're killing a whole bunch of birds to try and control this disease. And they're also, the price of the eggs in the United States has risen to $9 a dozen. So now there's a postage up at the U.S. Customs trying to stop the Canadian eggs coming into America. So with that, we always have exemptions on certain things of that nature. So as long as you're bringing your goods back and going back into the Tsi Snaíhne, it won't be stopped and it won't be seized. Because there was already a witness of somebody getting their eggs taken away and confiscated. You know, it may sound ridiculous, guys, but it's real, you know? So we're doing our best in those regards to stay updated on all those matters. And hopefully this report will put you people at ease a little bit while we're on top of the file, and we're doing our best to make sure that we still have that mobility rights and everything else that goes along with being an Akwesasne outdoor. Any questions?
Questions from the floor?
Some relatives of mine who are in school right now, who were born in Canada, are getting notifications from federal financial aid that unless they register at customs and get a green card, or a green card that references them being an American Indian born in Canada, that they're not gonna get funding starting this summer. Have you heard about that? Has anyone come to you yet?
We've had some, been notified, some notices, but we haven't had concrete information on that yet, but we are paying attention to it. And so, because we like to have our people have choices on their education, and if this is gonna hinder us from doing that, then I think we gotta go at them hard on this. We should have that freedom. We should have that freedom to decide where we go to school, not somebody else telling us when and where to go to school.
Well, they're not saying you can't go to school, they're saying they're not gonna fund you anymore, because
Well, when you're
American
not-
Indians born in Canada are eligible for funding.
Yeah, but when you're not funded and you're doing all the cutbacks, and then it stops our people from actually venturing out into those areas.
Okay, so,
We have it on the radar, we're paying.
Yeah, it's on the radar, that's being worked at from all angles. Everyone in the council is
Yeah.
paying attention to that.
yeah, but you know there's a deadline, right? The financial aid deadline is like March 31st, so if this isn't resolved by then, those kids are gonna have to go register at customs in order to get funding. It's urgent, it's not.
Yeah, I understand.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Last month, at last month's general meeting, I brought up the issue of the racially targeted maize that's up there. Was that on your agenda?
Well, they're introducing a, excuse me, it's called road chart. When you're traveling on south and you don't use the lanes, you're going on the other side, there's this road chart mechanism that they're gonna be using, where as soon as you go the wrong way, all your tires are punctured. But as far as those mazes, we can't really do anything about that. It's because those are issues that was created by individuals that are running the port of entry.
I'm gonna hop in here, I have a meeting with the port director on that, because again, it's gonna be those poles that come out of the ground. So if they're gonna install those across the port, and they're all in the ground, now they can hit the button, all of those poles come up, so you can't run it anymore. So that's one of my questions is, okay, if you have those installed, are you gonna remove those concrete barriers now? Because there's no need for them anymore, right? Those will block everything going forward. So I'll keep you posted on that one.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, one more question on this, and we gotta move on to our next one. We have a question up here in front row.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a Messina parent, we just got email today actually about the education from the American side, and that's just telling us what was just said is that we're no longer going to get funding for our students if they want to go to school, and if we do live on the Canadian side, they're highly encouraging us to look at Canadian colleges rather than U.S. colleges.
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Because you're talking about another country, and council has no jurisdiction in another country, right? But we're trying to find solutions, and again, this is something that we just can't, fix right away. But also, going on to that, before we wrap up this discussion, I just wanted you to know that we have been in talks with the different ministries, and I do have a CBS reporter waiting for a news conference with myself, and I will be going on there live after we have some kind of information of these tariffs. The tariffs are going to go into effect on March 4th, right? And then what CBS wants to know is the impacts that it's going to have on Akwesasne. So I will be letting the community know that, and I do look forward to hearing any of your experiences that you experienced going through customs. I will probably look at the week after, and I'll do my CBS Live interview then. but I actually want to hear from people, you know, what happened to you, how are they treating you? Because we have met with them, and yes, like Chief Vince said, and Yaman Chief Vince, they're honoring the remission order, and we're not gonna have any changes right now. However, we all know how things go with that guy on the other side of the border. He changes his mind every day. Everything is just so quick, right? And we never know what's gonna happen. So with that being said, we're gonna keep you posted, and I look forward to everyone, again, giving me information, so I'm ready to go to CPS with that. Again, now, Chief Vince, can you go to your next topic, please?
Yes. I didn't bring my agenda up with me. What's the next up there or solid?
We have the deer chronic waste disease.
Okay, last year, I worked with the Iroquois Caucus Harvest Working Group, and we're handling all kinds of hunting issues that arise when hunters are hunting outside of the territory. So now we're dealing with another issue where our hunters that are hunting away from home, that are living in Ganado and Tsi Snaíhne are coming home. There's a chronic waste disease that's chronic waste deer disease. It's a bone disease that impacts the deer population. And before the harvest can be brought back into the United States, they're requesting that all the deers be deboned, all your harvest and your kills be deboned and disposed of accordingly. And the species that they're targeting is deer, elk, moose, caribou outside of New York. They even had bear in here. So I have all the information. It's pretty big, and I just want to bring this up today so that way all the people here that are aware of any hunters or that do actually do any hunting can come and contact me, and I can give you all the information that you need. There's even forms in here when Canadian individuals that want to go hunt on the U.S. side, and also there's a form here that requires you to fill out when you're bringing your harvest home. So I have all this information. The only thing that I'm politically really involved in is on these forms of requesting for licensing. And you all know that we're trying to practice our right to hunt. We don't really require licenses. All we need is that hood is showing your red card if you have one, and that, and your status card and your tribal card should carry that same weight too. So if anybody out there wants any more additional information on this, I have it all. Unfortunately, I only bring one copy of each item just to have something to speak about and show, but if any hunters are asking for any additional information, I have it here. Contact me at my office, and I'll be gladly share and make copies for you so you have them, and you can even make contact with the U.S. border port of entry so they can give you additional information if needed. They allowed 4 carcasses of moose come through a couple years ago, but since then, because this chronic waste disease is occurring more on the U.S. side, they're trying to control it. They're trying to control it big time, and they even have other species in there also. So I have all that information moving forward, so if anybody's interested on it, they can contact me. I'm not gonna say tomorrow, it's because I'm on travel tomorrow, headed to Montreal, but the week after that, you guys can reach out to me and I can share any information that you guys require.
Awesome, Yama Chief Vince. Okay, for the sake of time, can you speak to the DIHE road maintenance and capital plan?
Yes, so roads is always an issue, especially this time of year with the thaw going on. So the roads department shared with me their maintenance schedule for this upcoming season and year 2025. As of right now, they're still in winter mode. As you can see, they're out there cleaning up all this excess snow that we received and trying to get rid of all the blind spots on all the street corners and whatnot. So they're pretty busy. In April, they'll be removing most of the equipment and start getting ready for summer duty. Road patrols are going to be happening to monitor flooding and grading of roadways as needed, dust control as needed, sweeping intersections and street sweeping, and the Beaver Dam clearing of the Way La France Memorial Hoopville Bridge. They're also taking some training courses, and they're also scheduling seasonal maintenance for all their equipment. And they're also updating their MTO inspection. So a little bit of patience there. In May, they'll be doing street sweeping, and it's almost repetitive what they did in April. But at that time, when things start slowing down, they'll also be accommodating vacation so the guys can take some time off for their well-being. In June, July, and August, they're gonna be doing, culvert inspections, and if some places are needed, they're gonna do reinstallations of culverts, and they're also gonna be working on roadside ditching. They targeted a few areas that's really, really serious and dire need for, and that's the areas they're gonna be concentrating on, is because if our drainage ditches are holding water, the water is starting to compromise the sub-bases of our roadways, and our roadways are gonna start to fall apart a lot sooner than later. You know, so that's essential, and if you property owners that own ditching, take care of ditching in front of your properties, just try and ensure that there's nothing in those ditches that will block water flow. That's all they're asking. In Ganadago, they're gonna be doing outtake ditch near the sewage treatment plant to the river from Sweetgrass Lane. Snai, they're gonna be targeting Snai Road, border road to the river. And they're also gonna be looking at the safety of the guide rails, replacing certain things that could be unsafe. On Dowanoga, they're concentrating on the Macumber South to the end, Dowanoga Apartment Road, Sherbrooke Court, Frank Benedict Memorial Road. July, they're targeting line stripping all districts. And again, the main surveillance of roadside grass cutting and beaver dam clearing, and the patrols and sweeping inspections are gonna continue right along through August. And then September, they're gonna finish up with all the drainage ditch maintenance that's required of them to do. Come September, or was it, no, October, now they're gonna start getting ready for the new winter season coming up. So if you see the guys out there, they're along the roadways, drive safe when you're around them or going around their construction site, because they're doing a lot of work for us, and we gotta keep them safe.
Round chiefs, any questions? We'll take two. We'll take two questions. Dagny, if someone hasn't spoken yet?
That's right. Don't lie.
You didn't, mention repaving in there, cause like, there's a lot of roads that really need to be repaved, and that's very important, because I don't own a vehicle, but I know what people's cars go through. They go through shit.
Yeah.
You know, and what if everybody just bills you?
Connie was
the damages.
Yeah, so on that note, I was asking for the roads capital plan, and it got miscommunicated somehow, where they gave me the capital plan instead of the roads capital plan, but I will look into that, and I will bring that information at the next general meeting. But keep in mind, pothole season's around the corner, so we'll be concentrating on all the potholes moving forward, and upgrading of the roadways where there's gravel roads that need fresh layer of gravel that's gonna be put down too. We're looking at all those areas, so. You know.
Okay, one more question.
I wanna know, can we use that Quebec money you got Dundee to get new pavements on our roads? Can we use that money for that? That's the question I had.
I think that's a question for all of council.
Well, that's the thing, hopping into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
They each have, okay, now here's the thing, at some point I wanna be able to hold an information session for the community. There's different, levels of government authority, responsibility here in Akwesasne, and one of them is the trust. The trust themselves make those decisions, and right there, those are, I think the community should be informed who the trustees are, what their mandates are, what they, have to work with. And I think at some point, it would be nice to have the different trustees sitting here too, because they're making decisions, and that's something that council cannot make a decision on. They make those decisions on to approve funds or not. And I think we all gotta work together. But again, going forward, that's something we're gonna look at. So we can't even speak to that, because the trustees could say, no, we had a vote and we're not doing that. So we can't. Council cannot make them do it either. See what I'm saying? It's gotta be a joint working together. And I think that would only work if everyone's sitting in the same room at the same time and hearing the needs. Right, and hearing from the community.
It should come from the community.
Yes, exactly. So community, go to those trustee meetings and tell them, you want those roads paved, tell them. Those are the things that you work over there, because council can't intervene in that part, right? It's not in there, so. Again, good questions. Okay, we can move on to the next one.
Something real quick.
Okay,
Just real quick. the entirety of that fund should not be in the trust. The entirety of the fund should not be 100% in the trust. That was never the idea behind that. I know I was trying to call it carve-outs, because I was hearing from different people or elders, etc., etc. Well,
Yeah.
well, they don't know how to, or they got no desire to do a petition. You know, proposal. A proposal
Your petition.
for that limited money. So that's not accurate. It should be 100% the trust that speaks to the entirety of that fund or several other funds.
Yeah, again, go to those meetings, and I actually will go too and sit there. As ex official, I can sit there. I can't tell them what to do, but I can sit there. And again, that's what I'm learning. But I think it should be, everyone should be sitting together in one common room. I mean, look how many people are here today. This would be nice for them to sit here today and hear these needs, right? Instead of setting up another meeting and I don't know their turnout. Is anyone going to those meetings? Raise your hands in here if you've been to a trust meeting. 1, 2 in the back, 3. Are you members of the trust? No, are you just community members?
I don't hear about it, that's why.
Oh, okay. So we have 3 out of
I don't go because
this whole room. 4. Are you a trustee?
No.
No. So again, right there, I mean, there's 4. Imagine if we had this kind of a turnout. So again, just to kind of wrap it up, let's get to those meetings, and also I'll invite them to these as well, because I think we can get some stuff done. Find out when those meetings are?
When and where?
Okay, yeah, because I plan to go, and I will share that out there. Connie?
The new trust has not been set up yet. You just only appointed the trustees a couple weeks ago. You were all there.
Yeah.
So please don't speak like it's all set and ready to go, because it's not. We're only getting started March 8th in our first orientation meeting. I do, Rose recognized that prior meetings had us there giving them our opinion on what we thought we should use the funds for. So I'm sure they have that information. Don't hold me to that because I don't know what's there yet. But it's my understanding as of March 8th, we'll have our first initial meeting, which is basically orientation. But yeah, it should be on the list.
Yeah, and current trust that's in process, go see them. Okay, so going back to this, any other questions for Chief?
Just before we get going, I want to add to the question that was asked previously. DIHE is working on RFPs to obtain a consulting firm for an engineer of record for the detailed designs and to achieve tender-ready projects for road replacement repairs for priority roads. So we're on it.
What's the priority road?
That's something that I was asking for, and we had a capital 5 list, and like I said, once I get that, there was miscommunication, and I will share that at the next general meeting.
We have been, just to kind of add to what Chief Vince is saying, the admin team all the directors have been putting together their lobbying needs, and we're going to have that presented to us shortly, like maybe by next week or so, I'm hoping. And then from there, that's our strategy, and that's something we're going to be showing you the community. Here's our lobbying strategy, here's what we're going to be doing, so you see the game plan, because we're going to be working. Okay, now Chief Vince. Okay. With that, we're going to move on to our next item. We have update Beaver reductions, Chief Scott, and he will also be talking about the current Karen Island updates as well.
Tsiothohrkó, Scott Peters, Tsi Snaíhne District. So for the Beaver reduction program with environment that they're holding, it's been ongoing for a couple months at least now. They were providing local trappers, hunters with $200 per, but that has been reduced so they could provide more to more people coming in. It was capped at a limit of 20 beaver or 10 beaver. So they did, that says we obtained additional funding from community support programs to up that and to provide a few more activities. The Beaver flyers, the posters you see was in the handouts as well. Has some information on it in regards to that. So far, they've trapped 32 beavers with working with local trappers. It's slowed down for the past few weeks due to the snow and the weather making it difficult. They're still ongoing though. They were able to keep 16 beavers in the freezer at the environment program. They provided 2 of those beavers to community member, 5 beavers to the land-based healing for a skinning demo and a trapping workshop that they're hosting. And they're looking to keep a few more for that type of activity. They have another program going on, I think it's one of the flyers as well, is a teaching and learning opportunity. Throughout March, experienced trappers can share their knowledge and teach 10 Akwesasne eager to learn about trapping basics, safety, and skinning. Registration is currently open for both trapper mentors and learning participants. It's half full right now, but they're still waiting. That was as of yesterday. The other community workshop flyer is pending. Sometime in March, they want to be hosting a workshop related to beaver trapping again. They're hoping to have how to make beaver hat, mittens, tails, and tail wallets. So they're looking at different types of activities to provide for the community to take part in. So when you see those, if you're interested, and if you know any youth or anybody, actually just register with them. The person to contact would be J.C. Hall. One of them has a QR code you can just scan as well for more information. It'll pop right up. They're working also with aerial surveys. They reached out to ACTS to use their drone in the marsh area so that they could start locating more beaver huts and whatnot. Then yeah, that's that whole project came about to help reduce the flooding activities. It's like a flooding mitigation project to go along with the roads program in Snaíhne, I guess, especially. So they're looking mainly in the interior of the swamp here between the school and Wade LaFrance and Sugar Bush area. Any questions to that?
Okay, so to that, now Chief Scott, I'll answer to a couple questions that we got via Zoom, and then we'll take a quick break. One of the questions is, will MCA SRMT be letting U.S. government know that we will not get green cards? The answer to that is Education Portfolio is going to be talking about that on Monday. There's going to have a meeting on that. And remember, you're still allowed to go to the school. Now what you're talking about is funding, right? So you can still go. If you have alternate forms of funding, you can still go. You have your own money or such like that. But Portfolio will work on this. They're going to come up with some, and they're going to keep you updated. This one's going to be a tough battle because, again, it's something in the States, not here in Canada, right? But they're on it. Next question. Will the question affect the New York State settlement agreement letting MCA residents attend SUNY schools? The answer to that is a separate process that will go directly to the SUNY schools of New York State. But then again, that settlement has not been finalized yet. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to be a while till that happens. So again, make alternate forms of way to pay or to attend those schools. But again, it's being worked on. Last question, is there a CBSA liaison for Akwesasne? Yes, we have John Bay. He is our CBSA liaison. He did reach out, and we had a quick little meeting, him and I, and we're gonna call in all the council together. What we're gonna do is we're gonna strategize and get ready for all the changes that are coming. There's a lot of things coming down the pipeline with the border, and yeah, you know, he needs a lot of help. He needs a lot of assistance from council and from the community. So we're going to be strategizing. We had some brief discussions about, you know, what's going on now and proper identification. So I'm going to say this to you: if you have an expired status card, please go get it updated. That's going to help. I mean, we're getting called to the border for things where I think this expired status card could be something that could easily be resolved. And because we're going to have to do other things in addition to that. When these tariffs come up, all of these issues, we're going to be busy, and we are busy. So again, if you can do your part, we're going to do our part. Okay, so I was asked to clarify when we're talking about with the status cards and traveling through the border, they will accept your status card if it is expired. You know, they do encourage you to get a new one, but they will not accept them if they've been altered. So please don't alter any of those cards because they will confiscate them if they believe that's fraudulent or tampered in any way. Those will be seized. So again, if something expired, go get a fresh one. Make sure you and your family have those. And is that all I need to clarify? Oh, the CBSA, so John Bay is the CBSA liaison for CBSA, but what we're gonna be talking about at Portfolio is creating our own liaison for MCA. And then again, like office space, talking about, so that way, when something happens, we're kind of talking about some potential office space locations. Again, nothing set in stone, just that he wants to find some where everyone can work together. And then if you have issues, you can go to this location and respond to them. So once we get to that part, we're gonna have updates. And that's probably something, because of how sensitive these border issues are, this is probably something we might have to call a special general meeting for. So kind of keep an eye out on that. Let's see what happens with this tariff stuff and all these changes here. So going on to that, I think we pretty much covered all of the questions that we had from Zoom. Is there anything else from the Zoom with these presentations? No, we're good. Okay, so moving on, we have acting executive director updates. So whenever, she's already set. Like it, love it. Okay, Shannon, take the floor. It's all yours.
All right. I'm Shannon Point, acting executive director. Council has asked me to provide short updates at this meeting. So if you would rather this meeting be just your time with council, you can let them know. But I'm happy to use this forum to, as an extra way of getting information out. So I'll just do a very quick update. The budget has been completed for the upcoming year, and the Finance Committee has reviewed that, and it'll be going to council for vote in a few weeks. After that, it will be presented to the community. I wanted to clarify the complaint process at MCA. There are two main complaint processes that the community can follow. One is the service complaints, which has everything to do with how our services are to you, and if you have an issue with the service that's been provided, there's a very defined process for those specific complaints, and those go to executive services. And the other type is a respect of the workplace complaint, and that has, that's not just for community members, but for employees, on employees as well, but it's all about ensuring that there's respect within our organization. So the process for filing a respect of the workplace policy is also very defined, and those are filed with Human Resources. Other complaints that don't fall under either of those two can still be submitted to an individual supervisor. If there's something that you've noticed or you have an issue with and it doesn't fall under service or respect, then notify their supervisor. If you don't know who that is, you can file it with HR and they'll make sure that it's addressed. Sending complaints to council. Council is trying to be very helpful when you reach out to them with those, but it doesn't follow any process. It's you won't get a response back or hear if there's been any resolution on that. All that they can do, if you go to them with that, is pass it on. I have just a few announcements. There is going to be a new substation for the ambulance and AMPS, and it's located at the tribe's old food distribution warehouse next to their medical clinic. And ambulance will be moving in there soon. That'll be their new location in place of their spot that they were using at the fire station number 1. The chief of police posting is in process. We're reviewing the job description, and one of the changes that we're looking at making is possibly dissolving the director of public safety position, going back to how we had it before with just the chief of police, and moving those programs to different places. So that second part is still under discussion, but we have agreed with the commission, and council has discussed at least that the chief of police will be the chief of police only. Whether there still ends up being a director of public safety, that piece is still to be decided concretely. I have some updates from the Department of Health that they wanted me to share. They now have blood work in all 3 districts. They have 3 clinics now. There are going to be nurse-led clinics in each district, which just makes it easier to access some of those more basic health needs. So you don't have to go to the ER for an earring. The providers will soon have access to lab results from Quebec for community members who went to Quebec for their blood work. This is something they're really celebrating, and also I want to point out that this is most likely a direct result of community telling telling us their concerns and their needs in this forum and in other ways. So complaints do lead to change. Maybe not always, maybe not as fast as it should, but it does happen. We're working with Life Labs to see if EKGs can be done in the community. That's something they're working on now. We have a new nurse practitioner who is starting on March 10th, and one thing that is great about that is that she's going to be doing Monday evening hours. Their primary health in the homes pilot continues to be developed. They're launching that in April. And unfortunately, Dr. Saylor, our pediatrician, his last day will be March 27th, and they're working with recruiters to help fill that. We have the managers and the directors will be meeting next week to discuss the strategic action plan. Council developed that for the years 22 to 26. And unfortunately, after it was developed, there was some intermittent pieces where we didn't have a consultant, etc. So the organization itself really got started with it at the beginning of 2024. So we'll be meeting next week to really look at the progress that we've made on our projects. Every department has several projects specifically connected to the strategic action plan that they've been working on, and then we'll be providing an update to council on that and taking steps forward to update the strategic action plan. Just one last thing, there is a positivity campaign that communications has been holding on social media for the past month. It ends tomorrow. Every day there were different requests for positive posts, and with the very idea of just spreading positivity. Tomorrow's the last day, so check out the MCA Facebook page and participate in that for your last day of chances to win some prizes and be a part of the positivity. Thank you.
Awesome. Now, any questions? We have time for a couple.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. It's quite informative. I just have a question with regards to the strategic plan. You called it council strategic plan, so I'm assuming it's an organization-wide plan. And there were objectives in it for numerous areas. My question basically is to council. Your departments and programs will be working to carry out this strategic plan. What is your plan to carry out the strategic plan and meet the goals identified in it? Are you creating a work plan for the next 3 years to help or work with your departments to reach those goals? Or to pull up, possibly lobby for what they need under those plans? I know you talked about an implementation plan being started soon on that. So I'm just wondering, how do you guys plan to work with your departments to assist them in meeting those goals?
Council?
I'll start, I guess. I'm working with, right now, 6 portfolios, which is kind of much, I'm learning. I'll be cutting that down to maybe 3 or 4, but I do plan on working with each council, like was just mentioned, through lobbying and through getting the work plans established, working with the other portfolio holders to see what the plan is for in the strategic plan and how to actually go about getting those things done. We're still, I haven't met with, it's not that I haven't met with them all, but it's been slow going at this point. We're still getting settled in. I know it's been 5-6 months at this point, but we're getting our feet wet in there and everything's working now and we're getting more settled. And that's what we're gonna determine now, those next steps and where the lobbying is needed and how we can actually go about carrying about those plans and getting things started and accomplished within our 3 years.
Thank you, Scott. It was informative, but I'm asking how you, as a team, will create a work plan that assists your departments in getting the job done. So like, are you guys gonna sit and create a work plan on how you plan to do that, or if you plan to engage in that, or just some thought? And so when you come back to us in a few months, we know that what you're doing is matching what your staff is doing or your departments are doing to get the ultimate results in that strategic plan that you signed off on.
Yeah, through those portfolio meetings, we're learning more about what the needs are in those portfolios and what they're requiring from us. So yeah, that's what we're information gathering kind of right now, and within those few months, we hope to come back to you, at least within 3-4 months, to actually say, this is where we're starting, this is what we're looking into, then this is what we're gonna be lobbying for, and those types of things. So right now, for me anyways, that's where I'm trying to get established. Yeah.
Also, if I can just add to that within the strategic action plan that we have, within the strategic plan itself is sort of a schedule where the departments report to them every 6 months on the progress of those. So sort of a checkpoint for them to give any new direction or change in direction and make sure that things are being done. There hasn't been an update yet because our 6-month point of actually doing the work was in the middle of the second election period, and our last executive director was, I think, preparing to do that update, and then that didn't happen. So now it's on me, and that's what we'll be doing within the next month or so.
Okay, my question is, since we talked about the complaints, if a serious complaint against a police officer and an investigation is required, will the subject officer be placed on administrative leave until the conclusion of the investigation? Is this applicable to all officers, including the chief and deputy and supervisors? Is there any circumstance where that would not be applicable? What is the timeline to conduct an investigation? And what is done by local is it done by local investigators, or is it an outside source that comes in to do the investigation? And the last one. Can we be informed of how many complaints came in against the acting chief of police and the deputy chief and supervisors?
So to answer the first parts of those questions, every investigation or complaint, there are a lot of variables that go into what determines the path of those. So sometimes they are handled internally, such as respect and workplace complaints. And sometimes if it's a serious allegation or something that we just don't have the scope or capacity within our staff to look into, then that's what an external person is. There is no guideline or policy written that says when they must or must not be placed on admin leave. There is also no timeline when it comes to investigations, and I know that this is a very frustrating part of complaints, is the amount of time that it takes. And coming into this position, I have seen how many old complaints there are that haven't been processed, and I'm trying to go through them and trying to expedite that. But when we have an investigator, we're also at the mercy of their own schedule and how they conduct interviews. And we might set a general time frame, but if we set a time frame, it could limit the capability of them to carry out the rest of the investigation. As for how many complaints, I'm gonna have to take that question back and see what privacy applies to that question.
You say privacy, I guess look at it generically then, or generally. So if there's complaints filed against upper management, is the same process followed as with a subordinate officer? So say if I did something wrong in the course of my duties, and I was placed on admin leave until an investigation is done, which I totally believe in, should be done. But I also believe that if it's applicable to upper management, the same thing should apply.
I understand the point behind what you're saying, and the issue is that different complaints and investigations are handled at different levels and different places. There is no one set policy that says this is how it will be followed.
So, I'm not confused. Are you saying that's not the way? It doesn't apply to both parties equally? I don't wanna, I'm not understanding, I wanna get it right what you're telling me. So does management, are they omitted from that same process that actually, that's not accurate because it isn't equal to everybody. It should be.
Maybe I'm not understanding your question, but there are different ways that complaints are handled, and so different people in charge. So if
Let me rephrase it. A serious, I think I can talk long enough. If I committed a serious or alleged committed a serious offense and I was put on admin leave, somebody made an accusation against me and I was put on admin leave, I mean that outcome, right? And I'm off, and then whatever happens, happens. I would like to think that anybody else above me, nobody in that department is eliminated from that same process. Same serious accusation can be made against a chief, deputy, supervisor, staff sergeant, anybody, they would be put on that. That's what I'm questioning, is that there should not be no set of rules that is different for anybody in that building.
And there is not a different set of rules.
Okay,
There is
so-
not.
So that it's applicable to everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
So since the elimination of the MEA, all managers, directors, and supervisors fall under the general personnel policy. And under the complaints of the general personnel policy, complaints and grievances, there is a specific policy. And there is a specific process and procedure on how that is done. There is also specific timelines and deadlines that have to be met. And they have to be met by the people that are reviewing them. So to say there are no set timelines, there are. And when you're going into the respect of the workplace policy, that is also a policy that's internal, but at the same exact time, it does have processes and procedures that are specific to how it's supposed to be done and when it's supposed to be done, and the timeline that everybody who is receiving those complaints have to respond to the complainant and have to notify the respondent in regards to that a complaint has been filed. Now, whether or not the supervisor who is receiving those complaints is doing that, and from what I'm hearing, it's not happening. And a lot of times you're finding yourself kind of going above that person's head, because if it goes to your immediate supervisor and your immediate supervisor doesn't do something, then you go to the next one, which would be a program manager. And from the program manager, it goes to the director. From the director, it goes to the executive director. And from the executive director, it goes to chief and council. That's the process. That's the level. And it specifically says that in both the GPP and the respect in the workplace. So to sit there and say that nobody can report and or send any claims to council, it's wrong. It's written in black and white in a policy. And if you're saying that nobody as an employee can do that, you're telling them the wrong information, because it's written in the policy. It's showing the flow of chart, the flow chart, and it's showing the authorities that are currently in place in Mohawk Council. So when you don't get your answers from the employee to the supervisor, to the manager, to the director, to the executive director, you have no choice but to go to council and see if they can help you, because at the end of the day, they are your last resort. So for years we've been hearing that you cannot take your complaint to council. But the same exact time, the policy is telling you this is the line and the flow of communications and the authorities that exist within the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne. And then when people go to complain to chief and council, they get their hands slapped. And that's not fair, because it's written in black and white in our policies. And it's not fair to tell the employees that's not the proper way to go. It's part of the chain, it's part of the command, it's part of the authority. And it is written in black and white.
So I was referring to the first incident of a complaint. You're absolutely right. There is that chain that goes all the way up. A complaint on me goes directly to the executive committee of council, etc. I was talking about the first incident of a complaint. If you haven't reported it to the supervisor or whatnot, it's just, and I was also not saying that you can't. I was just saying it might not benefit you because they're not required to give a response to a complaint like that. It's just there's other processes in place.
Okay, now for that, it is coming up to, it's 8 o'clock on the dot, and according to our rules that we had, meetings will start at 6 p.m. and maximum 8 p.m., at which point the community will be asked if they choose to continue past 8 p.m. Community, would you like to continue past 8 p.m.? Maybe go till 8:30. Please raise your hand. You want to continue? Okay, looks like we have it. We're going to continue for the record till 8:30. We will follow our current agenda, which would be the chief electoral officer, business from the floor, and then that time will end at 8:25, and we'll do our resolution. Yes?
You had a question further, still have a question further.
Okay, can I finish first? Okay, once we get to that 8:25 mark, then we're gonna end any kind of business from the floor, and that way we can finish off our resolution, our announcements, and our adjournments. So with that, we'll continue our process, and I turn it back over to you now. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment about the complaint process and who you complain to, because I agree with, people, the complaint process applies unfairly to subordinates and it doesn't apply the same way to directors or management. Because I'm no longer with MCA, but I did file serious complaints against my program manager, director, superiors, and the ED at the time literally took my complaint and delivered it to the person I was complaining about, and then that person found it unfounded. So the person I was complaining about handled their own complaint.
Okay, so now kind of getting back into this, I'm gonna tell everyone, those complaint procedures are on there, right? They're online, they're shared. If you have questions, you want copies, get them. But here's the other thing I'm gonna tell you, because I'm gonna advocate for your rights, you have the position and the right to do that, right, to complain. Go through that and follow it exactly. And if it says there's a timeline or someone's supposed to do something, they didn't document and get proof of that, there's another complaint. And you continue that chain of command all the way up. You know what I mean? You gotta document, because they are. Everyone is. It's a detailed world, right?
So things were documented, and then, like somebody else was saying, I was put on admin leave as a retaliation for speaking up.
Can I call
Yeah.
point of order?
Okay, point of order.
I know this is personal and I don't want.
But it's not, it applies to the entire workforce or community that uses the
You're
complaint
bringing
process.
personal stuff, and I just want this to make sure that we follow the
Other
process of
people
rules
brought
of order.
personal items too and weren't.
Yeah, so again, we're gonna go back to circle back to the actual processes. All of those are in there, and if something didn't happen, continue it. Pull it out and continue that. So moving on from that, now I'm gonna ask the community. Now, we're changing things, and again, we're bringing the executive director over here, right, to be able to give updates. Now, in the job description, it says, paragraph 3, is that they will engage with the citizens, and they will talk with external government bodies and stakeholders, et cetera, et cetera. I personally didn't like that word citizens, however, it's in there. Now, again, going back to my question is to you, the community. Now, if the ED is required to participate and engage with you, the community, do you like it that the executive director attend these meetings and give an update like this? Yes or no? If you would like to continue to see the executive director come and answer administration issues, please raise your hand. Okay, pretty good amount, okay. So again, and do you also want to change that word citizen to community members? Please raise your hand if you agree, change it from citizen to community members. Yeah, because that's in the job description. That's being reviewed and that job will be posted. Okay, so moving on to that, again, Shannon, for those updates, we can move on to our next, did I hear someone say check? Okay, moving on to our next agenda item. We have the Chief Electoral Officer CEO update. So we're gonna call the CEO up to the floor. Okay, and whenever you're ready.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Do I even need this microphone? Yes, you do. So we're all aware that two petitions were presented on Cornwall Island. I believe the date was January 30th, but I will read the results, which does indicate the date. These are my findings. To Mohawk Council of Akwesasne and the community, from the Chief Electoral Officer. This is dated February 27th, 2025. Petition received at the duly convened general meeting of January 30th, 2025. Petition to remove District Chief Teresa Oaks. I'm just taking a deep breath here because of Facebook bullshit that just jumped in my head all of a sudden. Sorry. Okay, let me finish. I, Cheryl Jacobs, Chief Electoral Officer, do solemnly swear that in keeping with the Akwesasne election law, Section 13(3), any petition submitted pursuant to Section 16(2) shall be examined by the CEO to verify that each signature on the petition is that of an eligible voter. I hereby swear that I have examined the petition presented on January 30th at the duly convened general meeting held in the District of Gawinoge. The examination tool used was the September 12th, 2024 final voters list used in the September 14th, 2024 general election. I hereby enter into the record that the results in accordance with the Akwesasne election law, Section 16(4), report that the petition is considered null and void as the required number of eligible voters has not been met. Examined using general election voters list used on September 14th, dated September 12th. Total names and signatures on the petition received were 99. There was one, I'll get this word, illegible. One illegible. There was 2 with no band numbers. There was 27 valid for St. Regis, 42 for Snai, 6 for Cornwall Island. The total number of valid signatures was 75. Not on the voters list, 21. Total numbers needed to be valid, 84. I have delivered the results at this duly convened general meeting of the Mohawk Council of Akwesasne, this 27th day, 2025 in the District of Tsi Snaíhne, Quebec. I signed it and dated it today. The second petition was received on Chief Vanessa Adams, District of Gawinoge. To MCA Community, Cheryl Jacobs, Chief Electoral Officer, February 27, 2025. Petition received at the duly convened general meeting of January 30th. Petition to remove District Chief Vanessa Adams. I, Cheryl Jacobs, Chief Electoral Officer, do solemnly swear that in keeping with the Akwesasne election law, Section 16(3), any petition submitted pursuant to Section 16(2) shall be examined by the CEO to verify that each signature on the petition is that of an eligible voter. I hereby swear that I have examined the petition presented on January 30th at the duly convened general meeting. Examination tool used was the September 12th, 2024 finals voters list used in the September 14th, 2024 general election. I hereby enter into the record that the results in accordance with the Akwesasne election law, Section 16(4), report that the petition is considered null and void as the required number of eligible voters has not been met. Examined using general election voters list used September 14th, 2024, dated September 12th, 2024. Total number on petition, 163. Band numbers didn't match, 2. Band numbers were wrong, 1. Those were voided. No signature, 1. Voided. Valid St. Regis 30, valid Snai 60, valid Cornwall Island 32. Total number of valid signatures, 122. Not on the voters list, 37. Total numbers needed to be valid was 150 eligible voters. I have delivered the results at this duly convened general meeting of the Mohawk Council this 27th day of February in the District of Tsi Snaíhne. Chief Electoral Officer, February 27th, 2025. Those are your results for both null and void. Thank you very much.
Now, CEO. Okay, so going on to our next agenda item, we have business from the floor. Before we start with that, I do want to say 3 things. Kanigoleos, Kanigunala, Danut Gawanio Izats. Gawanio Izats. Yes. Everyone will be allotted a maximum of 5 minutes.
Sego, Grand Chief and Council. I'm here today to present a petition for amendment to Section 16 of the Akwesasne election law. Before I read the petition for each district that was received, I'd like to read to you a cover letter, and it's addressed to the Grand Chief and Council. The issue at hand is the interpretation of Section 16, removal and vacancy from council of the Akwesasne election law, AEL. Since Section 16 of AEL is open to interpretation, eligible voters within the districts of Gawanoge, Ganadago, and Tsi Snaíhne have initiated a petition setting out the request to begin the amendment of Section 16, removal, vacancy from council from the AEL. The current interpretation of Section 16.2a sets out the process for the removal of a district chief, where Section 16.3 verifies that each signature on the petition is that of an eligible voter. Neither of these sections indicate that the eligible voter must be from the district of the chief who is being petitioned for removal. As per the Akwesasne Legislative Enactment Procedural Regulations, which we heard this earlier, 4.0, initiating the development, amendment, or repeal process. Section 4.6 sets out the process to request an amendment of an Akwesasne law, where a petition setting out the request must be signed by 75 eligible voters from each of the 3 districts, for a total of at least 225. Today, we present to you 3 petitions from the districts of Gawanoge, Ganadago, and Tsi Snaíhne, each reaching the threshold of 75 eligible voters. We have a total of 300 plus signatures of eligible voters who are requesting an amendment to Section 16 of the AEL. We understand the 5 phases of the law enactment process. We are, however, requesting that the process be expedited and back to the community for voting purposes within a 6-week period or earlier. And an update at the March 27th General Meeting is also requested. And that's being submitted to Grand Chief and Council. The first petition, it's a petition from the Gawanoge District. Whereas the people of the District of Gawanoge present this petition formally requesting an amendment to the Akwesasne election law, number 2024-01, approved by Mohawk Council Resolution 2024-25, MCR number 101, enacted April 8th, 2024, coming into force June 3rd, 2024. And whereas the people of the District of Gawanoge, by way of this petition, invoke Article 4.1, Phase 1, Development, Amendment, or Repeal of a proposed Akwesasne law of the Akwesasne Legislative Enactment Procedural Regulation, specifically the following article. 4.6, initiating the development, amendment, or repeal process. The process for development, amendment, or repeal of an Akwesasne law shall be initiated by B, a petition setting out the request for the development, amendment, or repeal of an Akwesasne law addressing a specific subject matter or issue must be signed by 75 eligible voters from each of the districts of Ganadago, Tsi Snaíhne, and Gawanoge, for a total of at least 225 eligible voters in accordance with the Akwesasne election law. And finally, the people of Gawanoge request the following amendment to the Akwesasne election law, Section 16, removal, vacancy from council, 16.2a, to be amended and read as follows. 16.2, a member of the Mohawk Council is removed from council if A petition requesting the removal of a district chief is signed by an equal number of their eligible district voters, plus one from the official total number of votes that he or she received on election day, by election day, and delivered to the council at a duly convened meeting. The signatures that we received on Kawanoge was 120, meeting the threshold of 75. The second petition, it's a petition from the Ganadago District. It's a petition pursuant to paragraph 4.6b of the Akwesasne Legislative Enactment Procedural Regulations. 4.6, initiating the development, amendment, or repeal process. The process for development, amendment, or repeal of an Akwesasne law shall be initiated by B, a petition setting out the request for the development or repeal of an Akwesasne law addressing a specific subject matter or issue must be signed by 75 eligible voters from each of the three districts, Ganadago, Tsi Snaíhne, and Kawanoge, for a total of at least 225 eligible voters in accordance with the Akwesasne election law. Or, the petitioners request that section 16.2a of the Akwesasne election law be amended to read as follows. 16.2. A member of the Mohawk Council is removed from council if A, a petition requesting the removal of a district chief is signed by an equal number of their eligible district voters, plus one from the official total number of votes that he or she received on by election day and delivered to the council at a duly convened general meeting. Ganadago received 88 eligible voters, meeting the 75 eligible voter threshold. Finally, the third petition from the District of Tsi Snaíhne. Petition pursuant to paragraph 4.6b of the Akwesasne Legislative Enactment Procedural Regulations. 4.6, initiating the development, amendment, or repeal process. The process for development, amendment, or repeal of an Akwesasne law shall be initiated by B, a petition setting out the request for the development or repeal of an Akwesasne law addressing a specific subject matter or issue must be signed by 75 eligible voters from each of the three districts, Ganadago, Tsi Snaíhne, and Kawanoge, for a total of at least 225 eligible voters in accordance with the Akwesasne election law. The petitioners request that section 16.2a of the Akwesasne election law be amended to read as follows. 16.2, a member of the Mohawk Council is removed from council if A, a petition requesting the removal of a district chief is signed by an equal number of their eligible district voters, plus one from the official total number of votes that he or she received on by election day and delivered to the council at a duly convened general meeting. So these petitions are being presented to you today for review, and we understand it has to go through the law enactment process. We understand that there's a working task group or a oversight committee or a legislative committee or a legislative commission, whatever you want to call them. When we look at the flow chart that they presented earlier, it says that it has to be by MCR or it has to be go to a survey. We heard survey, the word survey a lot tonight. Well, the community has stepped up and said they don't want a survey. We want you guys to look at, or not you guys, but it has to go to the appropriate body and look at section 16 of the Akwesasne election law, and only that section. It doesn't matter that it says chief administrative officer. We're not worried about that. It's a substantial section that has to be reviewed, and the community has come forward to say we need to change. You need to include district. They need to be district eligible voters. So if somebody's gonna try to get a chief from Kawanoge removed, it's the district eligible voters of Kawanoge that do that, and not not eligible voters from other districts. It was a resounding voice, and it was the same thing that community members were saying. So I'm going to present this petition and give it to Grand Chief. What?
Do we have our Director of Justice present?
Okay, so the Tsi Snaíhne, what we received in Snai was 94 eligible voters, signatures, for a total of 302 signatures from all 3 districts. So 120 from Gawinoge, 88 from Ganadago, and 94 from Tsi Snaíhne, for a total of 302. The other thing is, we don't want this request to go until June or July or December 2026, whatever. We want it done within 6 weeks. And we saw that presentation earlier. It can be done. So we're requesting that it be done in a timely fashion. And finally, one of the things that I was thinking of was that when a petition comes in to remove a chief, because this issue on interpretation of that particular section is still outstanding, I'm requesting that you look at a stay of proceedings and that petitions are not considered or reviewed until this section, Section 16, is reviewed and brought back to the community for a vote. However you decide, it could be a referendum or it could be a special general meeting in phase 4. That's up to you. But the people have spoken and the people want to see it. And don't deviate and do other issues. And I don't know how you implore that message to the working task group or the oversight committee or whatever they're called, that it's one section, Section 16, and that's what we want. Thank you.
Okay, before you do, so I have to call a parliamentary point of order here, because according to the council meeting procedure regulations, petitions, section 14 petitions, 14.1, a clearly drafted petition other than petitions addressed in the Akwesasne election law may be presented and delivered to the chairperson at a duly convened general meeting or special meeting. So since this pertains to an Akwesasne election law issue, I'm not sure if we can accept this. Where's our Director of Justice?
You absolutely can accept it. Your Director of Justice just took this whole meeting through the Akwesasne Legislative Enactment Procedural Regulations. And right in there, 4.6B says, and I'm not looking at the council regulations for petitions. That's not what this is about. This is about a change, one change to a law, the Akwesasne election law. She talked about it earlier. Michelle questioned it.
Yeah.
Regina questioned it. Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I'm saying in here, where in here does it say that you give it to the Grand Chief? Can you show me that procedure? I'm all about following procedures, right?
But where does it say that I don't give it to you?
Because it says it right here under our
council
meeting procedure regulations.
Yes.
Again, 14 says petitions.
Yes.
So 14.1, a clearly defined petition other than petitions addressed in the Akwesasne election law. Okay, so these other than petitions addressed in the Akwesasne election law may be presented and delivered to the chairperson at a duly convened general meeting or special meeting. So the way that this reads is we can't take a petition from the Akwesasne election.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Seriously.
What that's talking about is the petitions that are outlined in the election law. This petition is outlined in this procedural act. It's not referenced in the election.
So because
But the item-
election law is a conflict of interest with council,
Yeah.
that's why they can't accept it. But Lynn, you can present it to the executive director to pass it on to the Department of Justice.
What about all the others?
Or the CEO conflict being identified.
Yeah, because it is, and I think maybe that's why, I don't know why this is written like that, but again, other than petitions addressed in Akwesasne election law may be presented, so we can't take anything but the Akwesasne election law.
Presented that there to be worked on.
Yeah. Are you part of the legislative committee?
It's called the Oversight Committee.
The oversight committee?
Development, and yes, but she can present it to executive director.
To the executive director?
Yeah, because it is in fact a conflict of interest for council to accept that, just like it was a conflict of interest for the last council to interfere with that last law that we presented that had this in there.
Hey, I'm next.
That had-
Okay, so we'll go over here and then we'll go
I
back to
guess
Connie.
just on the whole notion of district chief, personally, I'd rather get rid of district chief. I think it's divisionary. I'm all about community unity. I think we're intelligent enough and we have enough scholars that maybe we can start nominating based on merit for portfolio based instead of district based, because once someone's nominated in through a district, the decisions that they make are not just for that district. It's not just DIHE for Ganadago or DIHE for Galanoga, and so I can see why it is the way it is, but also on the notion
Point of order,
of
it's 8:25.
governance.
Point of order.
Okay, yeah, point of order, we do gotta wrap this up, but I guess if you can ask the community if you want another extension, we can extend it one more half hour to end at 9 p.m. If you're all in agreement, please raise your hand. Okay, so we will continue as is. Okay, continue.
I'm just putting a formal request forward. I spent quite a bit of time with MCK in Ganawagan. They have a really beautiful governance project. It's a grassroots initiative for the community where all perspectives are heard. It's an arm's length away from council. It's an arm's length away from any type of elected governance structure, and I'm hoping that that's something that council will support here, this dialogue. That would also include the St. Regis Mohawk Tribe as well as the Mohawk Nation Council of Chiefs. I think that we're just like in this sticky area of governance and we're moving towards nation building and get away from the Indian Act, and I would really like to see if we could have our original democracy in there somewhere, because the Wolf Belt here is not our original democracy, that we are not the 7 nations. And so if we can get back to like the Iroquois Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, along those lines, I think it would pan out really well for us. So I have a letter of request here looking for support. We have a lot of scholars. I wouldn't be doing this myself. I would invite Tayaga here to maybe present at the next general meeting. We can do a lot of comprehensive reports and feedback for the elected councils as well as the community at large.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, they're calling point of order. You can share that with us after this meeting. Then we'll go back to Connie. To have clarity as the oversight committee member.
So the way it's written is you cannot accept the petition on the election law, but you can present it to the executive director, who can take that and move it to where it needs to be. The law, election law affects council, so they can't be involved in it. Last term, you got involved. That change that they want now was in that law with many other changes that previous council willingly turned down. They initiated their conflict of interest and point the fingers at me and that former task group today that we didn't bring that law forward to the table. We brought that law forward. We told them it was the voice of the community we needed to hear, not that of council. We presented the MCR to accept that law to go to referendum with all those changes in it, and they turned it down, and they created their own MCR. The only change in there was to add the word district to that section, and the community voted it down. And they voted it down because they were retaliating against your conflict of interest that you wouldn't acknowledge. Lynn is right, it needs to be in there. People work hard to get elected into these seats, but be mindful that you have to be conscious of your conflict of interest and how you interfere in the development of the governance. That was a lot of work done by a lot of good people. that you dragged through the mud today because you're being challenged with petitions.
Now for that. I mean, see that right there? Again, we're gonna support your right. You have these rights, but you have to follow the laws. You have to follow these procedures. And I'm gonna say this Grand Chief is not willing to break these laws. This Grand Chief is not willing to break the ethical conducts, because this Grand Chief, if he goes to court, he's gonna be found guilty. And no one's gonna pay his lawyer fees. So this Grand Chief is gonna follow the laws. That's all what it's about. I don't have to agree with what they're doing. I don't have to support it or unsupport it. I will make sure that the processes and all of these laws are followed. So again, thank you for sharing that proper process of what these petitions can go to. And if you like, you can go ahead and do that. And you can put it on the record and continue that, because according to that, and like what she's saying is true, and according to, again, the council meeting procedure regulations 14.1, the council can't accept that. Anything other than access election laws, we could. So for the record, do you want to submit to the executive director who's sitting right there?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I got a question around that. I think to date, is somebody ahead of me?
Yeah, just a sec. Could you say for the record what you received into your hands, executive director?
I am accepting these petitions to change the election law. However, as this is my mother-in-law, I'm going to turn this over to the CEO to deliver to the Justice Department.
For the record, the executive director has passed it on to the chief electoral officer, Sheriff Jacobs. She has all the contents in her hand.
It's gonna be sealed.
Am I good to go?
Just a sec. For the record, the CEO is sealing the contents that were delivered. Okay, are we good, CEO? Okay, we're good. So that has been submitted. Okay, now we can go on to questions from the floor.
Okay, just a quick one, observation-wise. I've sat through a few of these, including one against myself, and nowhere was this same process followed for any one of those. So what does that say against the 6 previous petitions that were brought forward to oust chiefs? Why is that different? I know we never alluded to the document in front of you, but action was taken without all of this rigmarole you're going through right now. So what does that should be all null and void, correct?
My only response to that is this Grand Chief reads and reviews all policies and procedures, and council will be following them going forward. This Grand Chief cannot speak to about the past, what happened in the past. If you have any connection to past council members who served, I would suggest that you talk to them at a district meeting. But good question. Next question. Yes.
If you take the position that you cannot accept a petition based on the Akwesasne election law, then why, on January 30th, did you accept 2 petitions that were against 2 district chiefs? One from Ganabago and one from Gawanoge. I was witness to that, Leonard. You accepted that, and you did not quote the Mohawk Council Procedure Regulations. I can speak to that Mohawk Council Procedure Regulations because it was drafted back in the early 90s. And the intent of Section 14 with respect to petitions, other than that mentioned in the law, the Akwesasne election law, was for the purpose, if a community member lived on a road that had a lot of potholes in it and council wasn't doing anything about it, they could do a petition. It had nothing to do with the law.
Okay, so I have your answer.
Hold on. And they presented it. So you accepted on January 30th
Yes.
2 petitions
Yes.
that were part of the Akwesasne election law.
Yes.
Here we stand petitioning a change of the election law.
Yes.
And now you throw a different document that has no intention for whatever you're quoting for that purpose. So that's your interpretation. Because when there was a petition that was presented in 2019, that Mohawk Council Procedure Regulations was not brought forward. When there was a petition brought forward in 2022, that was not brought forward. When there was a petition in 2023, that was not brought forward. It was all accepted. And again, on January 30th, 2025. So those petitions that were part of an election law, it was accepted by council. But now the community wants to change the law and say, we want to change 16 of the law.
Yes.
And you had a presentation this morning or earlier
Yes.
on the law enactment process for that. So you're not making any sense.
Okay,
You
so
really
what I
aren't.
am doing is I'm following the law. So this is called the Akwesasne election law.
I got it.
Now, okay, so I'm going to read you this. Now, there's two things here. One is submitting the petition for the removal of district chief. Section 16, removal of vacancy from council. 16.2, a member of council is removed from council if A petition requesting the removal of a district chief is signed by an equal number of votes plus one from the official total number of votes he/she received on election/by election day and delivered to the council at a duly convened general meeting. That answers your question, what was done last month.
Right.
Okay? Now, we go to today. Council meeting procedure regulations, which was just verified by the oversight committee member over there. And when here, now this says, now you want to change the law. This one says about how to remove a chief, and I read you that, and we followed that last month, and we're following it to today. Now, you want to change this? Now this document says how you change it. So this is what you will follow.
No, that document doesn't tell you how you change it. The letter tells you how to change it. We just went through that, and it's
This one right
4.6.
This one
That's how
right
it
here.
tells you.
The Akwesasne legislation enactment regulation will tell you how to do it. That, what you had read about the 75 petitions, yes. This right here is what you followed, right? To go through and change it. And I commend you on that. You have the right to do that. But now, where does it say here that you submit it to us? Well, this one right here says you cannot submit that to us because it's about the Akwesasne election law.
Oh my God. Okay.
We follow the laws. Yes, Connie, you're right.
So, but the petitions weren't for the chief, they followed the law.
Yes, we did.
But you can't accept a petition on the law.
Correct. We can't, can you repeat that, please?
What,
That you can't accept the petition that comes from the law.
you accept the petitions that are identified in the election law.
Yes.
But you cannot accept a petition on the law
Correct.
itself.
Correct.
That's the difference.
Correct.
That's not what it says.
That's what it says. That's what I just read.
Well, could you make sure we all have that from now on, because I've never seen that.
It's on,
And I don't know that.
isn't it on our website too?
What is it?
Akwesasne.ca.
I also wanted to ask the council and the community if you would pull together a committee that reviews these documents, these governance documents, so that the community has input on what this looks like. So when we talk about your political service agreement, we're the community, we're your boss. We get to tell you what we can put in there. When you talk about your meeting regulations, your procedural regulations, again, let the community be part of what that looks like. Everybody's on travel. Where's the reports? You know, what's your travel budget? Are you going over it? What's the qualifier to go on travel? Is it relevant to your portfolio? What are you bringing back for the community? Or are we just going to travel? So all these things that the council's being doing, and they're right, we need to see them. Is it fair to ask that you comprise a committee to work with, not of you, but either of your HR, your executive service, and some community members that help develop those projects, so our policies and procedures, so that we know what's going on. The monthly report templates, if you can't do a written one, then do a video. But we sit here and we try to figure out what's going on, and it's what we're reading, and it's all coming to interpretation. Well, let's then develop it together then.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah,
a couple more comments. You have membership code, and in that membership code, you have rights. And you have rights to community support. And recently, there was the snowsuit project. And you had community members who live on the US side and were taken off the list because they lived on the US side. They're a member. Nothing says they were getting that service on the US side or if they were in Cornwall or wherever they were. That was wrong. You put these people on your membership list, they're entitled. Not insured health benefits. You talk about administering it. I want you as political leaders to find out how that list becomes relevant to our community and not that of Health Canada. When you administer your own health, you get to decide what you're paying for. We have people with cancer that wait weeks to get those meds because somebody has to decide if we're eligible for it. We have kids requiring dental services that we pay for out of pocket. That's a hardship. To get that approved takes weeks and then not all of it's approved. It's got to be better. When you say you're administering it, then truly administer it and get Health Canada to understand what we need and what they think versus what they think we need. That's a political move for you guys. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, we're sure someone who hasn't spoken yet. At the back.
Okay, first, I'd like to say no for this change in the format. I really enjoyed it, kept my interest. Nothing against your voice, Leonard, but it's nice hearing from other people as well. And I look forward to hearing from other chiefs in the future. So now go on.
Now for that feedback.
Second thing I'd like to bring up is the person sitting next to me. She got up to say something, and she was quieted down because of a personal experience she had in there. A few people after, somebody had mentioned a personal experience. She wasn't shut down. I do not think that's fair to her. She is a community member. She does have a right to speak. If you're going to do it for one, you do it for all. And I don't think it was fair to her. Yeah, we'll go up.
Okay, yeah, to respond to that, like when I'm listening to people speaking, if they're speaking about something like policy driven and it's all of that kind of discussion, that I'm allowing. But once it starts going into like more details, then that's when it goes into personal. So again, that's kind of what I'm using as my guide. But that's not to say that we can't continue talking after this to follow up with that, with those personal ones, all right? And I didn't mean it to be like that. But then again, we got to try and keep that personal stuff out of here because of confidentiality. There's a lot of mixes, right? So again, but if it's high level stuff, policies, procedures, laws, this kind of stuff, that's why we're here to talk. So hopefully, I do apologize about that.
I just want to say it wasn't you.
It was me.
Okay.
And I do apologize, but it was talked about in the rules of order, and as much as we all should do the point of order to everyone, I do suggest you bring it to us on the to do a sidebar because your voice needs to be brought to us. And it does matter, but I just think that it should be brought because it's a personal matter to the side so that we can talk face to face about the issue. No.
Okay, so yeah, let's go to some people who haven't heard yet. We're still in discussion. We have about 13 more minutes.
This is in regards to what Connie had said about non-insured and payment of medication. It's from personal experience and in regards to cancer, let's say. If the holdup is medication, let's look at what area. Where are you living? Are you living in the RAMQ jurisdiction, or are you living in the OHIP? And if you're living in RAMQ jurisdiction, let me tell you, Quebec does a heck of a lot for the people. And if we all run to Ottawa and you have to wait, that's your choice. And that's the choice of MCA trying to do MOUs with the Ottawa Hospital and so forth. Whereas if you go straight to Montreal, there is no delay at all. They get right on it. They get you processed. They get all the scans done. There is no delay in any medication given. They support all their cancer patients. The medication is free. So why would you go out of your district or out of your province to gain that kind of care when you can get it in your own province? Travel, well, you know what, it's an hour and a half to Ottawa, it's an hour to Montreal. There's no wait time at the borders, it's straight through. I've traveled it, I've done it, it's not hard. There is no language barrier, there is none. We've spoken to nurses, doctors, they all speak English. So don't ever let anybody say that there's a language barrier. We don't want to do the travel. How many people go to the Bell Center to attend concerts and hockey games? I'm sure you can go to the Glen site, you can go to the Jewish General, Montreal General, you can go anywhere where the Cedars Cancer Center. You can go anywhere. So don't let it, my message here is don't put it on one program if your loved member dies from a wrong choice of health care. If you live in Snaíhne, St. Regis, go to Quebec. And if you don't want to, that's your choice. Don't blame somebody for not paying your price.
You know, we're looking at a lot of work to get done with these borders, and we did meet with the Quebec, Dundee porter and port of entry over there. And what we're looking at is a new remission order, and we told them that we're going to have an increase in travelers for medical reasons. And with that, you know, with this border stuff coming through and so many changes, we're going to be, again, strategizing with our liaisons. Our portfolio is taking us serious. We're coming up with strategies, again, talking about updating our status cards, right, and what we can travel and stuff like that. But would you be willing to come and attend if we do public sessions and inform the community about that? Sure. Because of your experience that you have a lot of value and knowledge right there, right? And that's the kind of stuff I think people need to hear. And even myself, next time I get sick, I'm gonna go that way too and document my process, my journey, you know, as a case study so I can share with everyone. I haven't gotten sick yet, but
it's not
that
hard.
stuff would help.
It's not
It
hard.
would really help.
And let me tell you, we've gotten nothing but fantastic service.
Okay, that's what we need to hear right there. And that's the thing, I think, see, because there's so many like unknowns, I think you're gonna be able to help us with that connection and lessen that divide. So I look forward to that. I look forward to working with you. Nyamo. Okay, next question. Yes.
Mine is more of a comment. I'll just segue from what you said, and it's about process. I've also been invited as the CEO to attend monthly meetings, and I look at it as when I listen to people and they're not 100% aware of process, then we need to continually educate. I just spent 4 hours on a Sunday training our DEOs and uniformed security personnel, because on a brighter note, we got a by-election coming up for membership. So we are looking to fill 2 seats, one in the district of Ganadaga, one in the district of Tsi Snaíhne. And I know you'll probably hear it on the radio, it's been out since Monday. I goofed on flipped the terms there, but I fixed it right away, but somebody called it in, and I was very proud of the person and thanked them for calling it in, and it got taken care of. But when we talk about stepping up to the plate, think about these boards, commissions that we create, oversight committees, whatever you name, whatever they're called. Think about that. Talk to the next generations about stepping up also. I have 10 staff basically as DEOs and uniformed security personnel. I'm putting together a plan to bring in more, get them trained. We could use more uniformed security personnel. Also, we gotta have a plan. We seen what the pandemic did. What if we were right in the middle of an election and everybody called in, they all had the flu? You don't want to put a stop to it. The backup plan is bringing your replacements that have already been trained, right? So March 8th, Saturday, March 8th, we do have nominations for the Akwesasne membership board. So think about that. I believe the criteria, everything is on the website as to your qualifications and things like that. So that's all I wanted to say, and I wanted to thank Council for allowing me to be on their agenda. And when I am on their agenda, I just want it to be a very short 5-minute type educational thing. Maybe have a few handouts here in understanding process. Because for the membership board, the membership lists are out. So think about that. It's the eligible voters list. It's going to be used in the June 2027 general election also. So it's being used in the elections. So every time you notice your name's not on there, get it on there. So when we get to June 2027, your name will be on there. We are looking at everything that transpired last year, and we're trying to fill and fix all these problems and gaps. So think about that, because you will probably look for a new CEO come June 2027. All right? I want to plant that seed right now to the younger generation. Consider stepping up and taking on one of these positions. Thank you.
Yeah, well. It was really good that you come out. That's the kind of stuff we need to hear. And again, I think you see that too. There's so many of these rules, policies, process, laws, and there's such a disconnect, right? And it gets confusing. It's overwhelming. I carry these with me everywhere I go. I'm reading these daily, to be able to keep on this, so that way when I'm questioned, I know how to respond. And it's a lot. But I agree with you. Thank you for inviting the younger generation. That's what we need. Any other questions from the floor? Someone we haven't heard from yet? Let's give everyone a shot here, people. Come on, sharing is caring. Anyone that we have not heard from yet? Wait, we could have heard from you too. Anyone different? We'll come back to you guys, but is there someone who has not spoken yet and you're shaking, you're itching? Okay, you can come give us your letter. Wait, is it about the Akwesasne election law?
No, it's just.
Okay, then you can give it to us then. Okay, then you can give it to us. Take it right. Anyone else? Anything not considered okay? And back? No? Then we're gonna come back to you. Don't worry, we still got a couple minutes here. Unless you hug, girl. Go ahead.
Just to follow up to the thing about the child welfare, how many kids in care, how many kids
Yeah.
out. When you were reading, it was too fast. Were you saying that, what was the number of kids that left care in those years? Or was it only kids brought into care?
That was on my action item list.
You were just reading it too fast, I couldn't.
Okay, so how many children have entered and exited care through ACFS? Voluntary and involuntary. Chief L. Pierce. We have 21 to 22. We have Quebec 9, Ontario 18.
So that's coming into care?
You know what it doesn't say? How many children have entered and exited care through ACFS, voluntary and involuntary? So this is Quebec 9, Ontario 18.
So that's just in?
And then for 22, 23, Quebec 7, Ontario 0. The next year 6, Ontario 18. Next year Quebec 0 and Ontario 0. That's all this is on here.
It says exit and enter.
Yeah, exit and enter, so they're combined.
Can we get it split where we can see how many are going in and then going out?
Exit and enter, split for next, okay. Can we do that as the action item trackers in here? To have that split for next one? Hey, sounds good.
My next one is child welfare related to
Okay.
First Nation child settlement claim. Is there
Yes.
gonna be sessions held in Akwesasne for that claim?
Yes, next week, actually. Go ahead, Cal. Come on.
Hi, next week, there's 3 sessions. I'm not sure, I think one's Monday, and then maybe Wednesday and Friday, but if you can just look on Mohawk Council's website.
It's there?
And it's there, yep.
Who's doing it?
Myself, Chief Vanessa Adams, Tisha Rourke, and anybody, Chief Tisha, and whoever else on council wants to be there.
Okay. Will the lawyer group, whatever that's doing it,
I can find that out. and
have
put
one
you-
too? Like they did with the day school claim?
I'm not sure about that, I can find out. I'll let you know.
Okay, I have a question on the tool booth, and then from there, I will pass it over to the gentleman that was in the front. A question about the tool booth. The toll booth increases. What did council do about it? Well, and what is going to be done? I'm just here to let you know that we did do a letter. We did meet with CIDC regarding it. They did inform us it was going to be increasing the tolls, and we did talk to them about that. We did a letter to them. We're actually going to be, we met with Cornwall. I discussed with the mayor. We did not, as a whole council, just me and the mayor discussed it. We agree on it. We're on the same page, and you might have seen some publicity to that, is that the mayor supports us and that we do not like that toll booth. We want it moved to the South Span Bridge. Now here's the thing, kind of going forward, I did a letter to, and I'm requesting to meet with Anita Ann, requesting the toll booth. So this minister is gonna help, but here's the other piece. We had a meeting regarding the Seaway claim. It was because the Seaway claim was voted down. A little bit of recap here, but I do have to talk about it. So we met on that to see where we are. We're gonna set up, we're gonna continue with litigation. So then from that, the Director General for the Crown Corporations and Portfolio Governance for Transport Canada, Heather Carrier, was present. During that time, we did discuss the toll booth. I thought it was kind of shoot it in there because talking about all the wrongs that the Seaway committed to us, and I thought I'd shoot in the toll booth in there, hoping that we can get some kind of agreement, buy-in, and support that she would look at helping us reduce the tolls. Well, I am happy to inform you that she does fully support us, and she even made the comment that they're looking at, Transport Canada looks at removal of the toll booth itself. However, just use know, Canada and the United States own it together. And the United States have a new administration in their corporation, which is being assigned by the President of the United States. When the new people are in that corporation, they will have a meeting with Canada, with these people. Now, what's gonna happen? I don't know. Whoever Trump puts in there, we don't know. However, just so you know, I'm taking every spot we can. And if we got that chance and we got Transport Canada on our side to remove the whole toll booth altogether, then look, hey, we got someone on our side, right? Now we're gonna keep working on it. We're doing everything that we can. We're talking about the socio-economic impacts, all of that stuff. We're working hard. I mean, we're trying to make these wins. Now, if we can get that through with Canada and that's enough, and if this minister can do something, if we can get that toll removed completely, that's an ultimate win. However, let's not get our hopes up too high because we do have to live in the railroad because of Presidente Trump, right? Now, with that being said, we're going to do everything we can for the toll booth. We do have a meeting with the Gominoge businesses next week. I believe it's May 3rd, 3:30 p.m., I believe. March 3rd. Sorry about that. Just trying to go through my calendar. So we are taking action. We're really aggressive on this stuff. Now, going back to that, we have, okay, that eats up our 8:55. And according to what we had said, we have to end our discussion from the floor here. And we have to now move on to our resolution, general meeting minutes dated Tsiothohrkó, January 30th, 2025. This is to accept and approve the attached general meeting minutes dated Enníska, February 27th, 2025. Do we have a mover? Chief Sarah, and a second is Chief Joanne. Discussion. Question been called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Online? Do we have two hands? They're not voting? Or are they opposed? Okay. So we're going to go to 10-4. Carried. Okay, announcements. We have Enniskó March District and General Meetings. We do have our meetings up here. I'm not sure if it's on the back table. For district meetings, March 17th. Enníska, Tsi Snaíhne Recreation district meetings, our district recreation center, 6 p.m. April 14th. Okay, do you just have this list? Everyone's got his list? Okay, read the list. It's good. And it's also got agenda meetings on here too. You're going to see those have been scheduled every day or every week, every month. And looking at that, we now have adjournment. Can we have a closing address, please? Well, we ran out of time.
Election law is a mess. It's a mess. It's a big mess. I gotta
I
point
agree.
it out to the field.
Oh yes, I agree with that. But we gotta do our words. We gotta close.
Point it right out
Okay,
to
go
you.
ahead, close. Oh, do we have a motion to adjourn? Chief Cindy, Chief Lisa, all in favor, please raise your hand. Carried. Meeting is adjourned. Y'all for coming, everyone. Safe travels. Looking forward to seeing you at the district meetings and the general meetings. On to Beaver.